Hello everyone, this is a video to go along with Module 1 of the Philosophy 5350 Ethics class. So for this module you should be reading a little bit of Bentham, should be watching some videos on utilitarianism, and I wanted to give you all a little bit of context for why we talk about happiness and what we mean by happiness as an ethical question. So the first thing to keep in mind when we talk about happiness is that we're not talking about something like just transitory happy feelings or pleasant feelings. I'm not talking about that. Like if when someone says there's a sale at the store and they feel very happy about that, that's just a transitory pleasant feeling. But when we talk about happiness within ethics, we're talking about a long-standing, deep feeling of contentment, of satisfaction. Basically, the feeling that you have when your life is running on all cylinders, everything is going well, you're doing well. So this sort of complete feeling of fulfillment is what we mean by happiness. So it's a really strong, deep concept, not just sort of happy feelings at the moment. So in this video, we're going to look at happiness. We're going to connect it up with means and ends, talk about happiness as a goal, and how we think as a society, as individuals, as different cultures, that we get from where we are now to happiness. So let's first talk about means and ends. So we do some things because we want other things, and then some things we do just for their own sake. You can notice this with pretty much everything in life. So let's take cooking, for example. So I love to cook. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so as much as I enjoy it and I like doing it, I don't do it just because. I cook because I want to eat, or I want someone else to eat. So even on times when I'm not cooking for myself, like let's say I've had a big lunch at work and come home and help the kids with their homework and make them some lunch while I'm cooking, but I'm not cooking for myself, but I'm still doing something for some other reason. I'm not cooking just for the sake of cooking. It's not like I'm going to bake a bunch of cookies and then do nothing with them. They're being cooked, they're being baked in order for someone to enjoy them. Well, in the same way that most of what we do, everything we do really can be divided up into things done for themselves, just they're valuable in themselves, by themselves, and then other things we do for the sake of those things that we think are valuable. And there's some things like cooking that perhaps maybe in the middle where you enjoy doing them anyway. You would like cooking, like maybe it would be nice. You think, oh, it would be really peaceful this afternoon to bake some cookies, or make some pork chops on the grill. It would be really calming, really relaxing. That's fine, but you're also doing it for something else as well. So you just think about your day as a whole. Like, what are you doing? You can divide it up into things that you do for themselves, and then other things that you do for the sake of, or in order to get those other things. So the things that we do for themselves, we call those ends, right? Things that are ends in themselves. And then the things we do in order to reach those ends, we call means. So the means to an end. When someone says it's only a means to an end, they're saying it's only something that I do for the sake of this other thing. And this other thing is what's really valuable, this end. So let's try it. You're listening or watching this video right now. So I don't know where you are. Maybe you're sitting down at your computer and you've got your headphones on in a busy coffee shop and you're listening to this. Maybe you're just you have your iPad propped up somewhere and you're doing the dishes and you're kind of keeping an eye on this while that's going on. So whatever it is you're doing right now, you're listening or watching to this video while right now, right away. So why are you watching this video? So let's walk through it, right? So you're listening right now. Okay, you're not doing this, I'm guessing, because you just want to listen to a video on ethics. That sounds nice, but it's probably not what you're doing just for itself. Probably you're doing what you're doing right now. You're listening to this video right now because you want a grade. You want a grade for this assignment for this week, and then eventually a grade for the course as a whole. At the end of the semester, or at the end of this 8-week term, you're going to get a letter grade on your transcript that corresponds with your performance in this class. So, okay, well, you want a grade, got it. Well, why do you want that? Why would you want a grade? I mean, it's just a meaningless number. So if you make an A in this class, 4, right? There you have 4 grade points, or I guess 12 since it's a 3-hour class. Well, why would you want a grade in this class at all? Who cares? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that you want the grade because you want a degree. You're aiming for some kind of certification or degree. Maybe it's a Master of Education or a Master of Arts in Philosophy. Maybe you're taking this class as part of a theology course, so you're wanting a Master of Arts in Theology or a Master of Divinity. But it's not just the grade by itself. You want the grade because it helps you get closer to or complete that degree, and that's the thing that you really want. So you're listening right now because this is part of that degree. But call me crazy, but I don't think you want the degree just for the sake of the degree. That seems to me to be extremely unlikely. I really doubt that. It's not like you just want to have the piece of paper to put up on the wall as a decoration. You want the degree for some reason. And almost always when it comes to master's degrees, people want master's degrees for career advancement. They want to be able to qualify for a job that they wish that they had or they would like to have, they think they would do well at. Maybe it involves getting a promotion. Maybe it would enhance their ability to do the job that they already have. But you get a master's degree because you want your career to be advanced in some way. Okay, great. We got the career step. Why would you want your career to be advanced? You think, oh my gosh, this is definitely a philosophy class. We're just asking why forever. Maybe it sounds like something a 2-year-old would say, or a 3-year-old. Just walk around and ask why all the time until people run out of answers. But stay with me. I don't think we're actually going to run out of answers here. I think, and out of all the students that I've talked to when it comes to, like, well, why do you want your career to be advanced? We're going to see things branch off in a couple different directions. So some people will say they really want money out of it. They would like a certain lifestyle, and the way to get that lifestyle involves a different job, more prestigious job, more difficult job than they have now, and that this degree allows them to go get that, which allows them to get this money, and then that money will provide for them, for their family. Or maybe a lot of people go in for the meaning route. So there's plenty of people who get advanced degrees, and the job that they're getting doesn't pay any more than what they pay now, what they're getting now. Nor is it really an easier job. In fact, a lot of times people get their advanced degree to do a job that's harder. And so why would they do that? Well, a lot of times because they find that particular work to be very meaningful. If you feel, some of my students who exhibit this the most strongly are my nursing majors. Nursing, you're around people who are sick and in pain, and you get to be the hands that help them, and this is very difficult work. It sometimes involves very long hours. It's messy. You're going to be around bodily fluids, and it's not a glamorous job. It's a very difficult job, and while it pays well, there's other jobs that pay better. So why go into nursing? Well, because you feel like it's a calling. It's something that you have to do, that you feel that you should be the one to help these people who are sick or in the hospital, or children who are afraid of getting their shots or being examined, or you're the one to help. And that's something that's, you can't put a price tag on it. It's this idea of a meaningful work. You're willing to go through something like take a philosophy class in order to get the career that enables you to have a meaningful job. So that's one big piece. And then I have quite a few students who will often say, well, prestige is a major factor for them. my background, I'm Middle Eastern, and one of the things that people laugh about is that when they were given the choice of careers, they were told they had to do one of three things. They had three options, and that was going to be an engineer, a doctor, or a disgrace. That the only job options that were available, only career options, were ones that would bring their family a level of prestige, where grandparents could brag on their children with each other and say, "Well, mine's an engineer, mine's a doctor, mine's gone into law," something that would involve some kind of honor or prestige. Now, one thing to watch out for here, you don't want to have a setup where we kind of go in a loop, right? So it's like, well, why would you want the career advancement? So I can get the money. Well, why do you want the money? Maybe the next step would be something like, I want to be able to put my kids into private school, or to give them more opportunities than they would have had, more opportunities than I would have had. So why do you want them to do that? Well, so they can sit in a class and listen and get a grade and get their degree. And it's just like an endless loop. There's no end point on it. There's that last step is just left blank. But one of the most famous philosophers of the ancient world, Aristotle, suggested that the last step, right, even though we might branch out here for why we want a career into money, meaning, or prestige, the last step is always going to be the same for everybody, and that is this concept of happiness, this concept of living a full and complete life, something that is fulfilling and satisfying, and that's why we do all these other things. Why would we want money? Well, so we can live the kind of life that we want, and that kind of life we think will bring us happiness. Or why would we want to take a job that involves difficult long hours but feels like there's a meaning to it? Well, because we think that meaning will bring us happiness. And the same thing with prestige, that being able to be honorable in front of your family, for them to be proud of you, will bring you ultimately happiness. But happiness is that final goal, that last piece of the puzzle. So happiness really has to be the end goal. And one of the things that Aristotle notes here is that it's the only thing we choose only for itself. All the other things, even the things that we like and that we would choose for themselves, we also choose for something else. So in my example of cooking, even though I really love cooking, I'm also choosing it for something else. And that's for the nourishment of either myself or my family or my guests. But in the case of happiness, we don't choose to be happy in order to have something else. Try to think about this for a minute. Just pause and try to imagine choosing happiness, but in order to get something. Like, what would the other thing be? What on earth would you want that you would want to be happy in order to get that? Like, happiness is always, and again, this sort of deep, abiding form of satisfaction. This kind of happiness would always be the thing that's chosen only for itself. It would never be useful in any way. It's always, you want that, and so you do all the other things in order to get that. So happiness needs to be this complete end goal. So how do we get it? What brings us closer to happiness? And this is where most ethical theories will start to diverge. And not just theories that, say, philosophers think about, but ordinary people, as they go through life, not really thinking about it like a philosopher would, but just for themselves. Well, okay, if you want happiness, how do you get there? What are the steps that get you there? So there's really four main options. So one, the two on the left side here, honor and pleasure, these are ones that we would think of as being pretty good options. The ones on the right are pretty bad. So let's look at the bad options first. So look at relief. Right, so this is the way you'd think of just satisfying whatever needs that you have right now. So if you're a hungry person, then for you, happiness is food. If you've been working long hours outdoors and are terribly thirsty, well, happiness for you right now is water. If you're poor, then money is happiness. If you're sick, then health is happiness. So basically, whatever it is that you need right now, that's what happiness is for you. If that's this model of what brings happiness, just relief. Now, this is, I think, a really bad option for a lot of reasons. The most important one is that it's not durable. Relief changes all the time because you're in those different states as you go through your day. So, I mean, for your day, you might go through 9 different states of relief. You're tired because you've been on your feet all day. Well, happiness is sitting down and taking a break. And then, you've gotten bored because there's kind of a lull in your job. And so happiness is having something to distract you. Or you're tired of the commute, and so happiness is getting home, and so on. It's just, you're basically chasing one desire right after the next. You're basically just trying to outrun discomfort all during the day. You're trying to escape discomfort. So a lot of people do live like this, but I don't think it's very stable. It doesn't seem like something strong enough to hang your happiness on. It's just fulfilling whatever is bothering you today. Let's fix that, and well, you'll never be happy then. There's always going to be something that you need to fix. So that seems like a bad idea. Money seems like an obviously bad idea. Mainly because money is never chosen for itself. No one sits there and thinks to themselves, "Oh, I want to have this giant number, or I'd like to have a brick of $100 bills shrink wrapped under my bed or something." Why would anyone want that? The reason is you want to use it for something else, right? Either you want to spend it, or maybe you like the feeling of security. I think this is reasonable. I think sometimes people do want money for this reason. It's not because they think, well, I just want to change it for a new car, or I want to exchange this for a house or medical care or a vacation or something. It's not that. Sometimes people want the money because they know that if something goes wrong, they can handle it. They have the resources there and they can take care of it. And that, I think, is a really valuable thing. But then don't say, well, I want money. Money will bring me happiness. Say instead something like security will bring me happiness. Right? That seems like a better option than just money. Money is probably the wrong answer. The two on the left are the ones that, from the ancient philosophy perspective, are the most valuable. So honor, for one, right? Other people recognizing your achievements, becoming an honorable person, doing things that people see as brave or worthwhile. That is a really strong case for happiness. And many of the very best people that we know of, the ones that we look at their lives and we feel inspired by them, we see the kind of changes they've made in the world. A lot of times they are motivated by honor. The only problem with honor is that it does rely on other people noticing that you've done the right thing. So, it only works in a just society where your honor is rewarded. But sometimes you'd say, well, even if nobody noticed, or even if what I was doing was considered wrong at the time, but I knew it was the right thing to do, and that future generations would be able to tell that what I did was right, that's all that I need. Honor is its own reward. Honor would be the closest thing to happiness. The other option is pleasure. Pleasure doesn't have to be trashy pleasures of debauchery or something, but it does mean enjoying your life and having these beautiful experiences, being able to do things like travel, or some pleasures are like the pleasures of family. I was talking to a friend of mine who said one of the strongest, most beautiful feelings he ever had was when his young children would come down Christmas morning and open their presents, and the look of excitement on their faces was so overwhelming for him that he realized he had made the right choice in life. And so, I mean, this is the most pleasure experience he's ever had, was watching his children be happy. So pleasure is a big tent. It's a big umbrella. It doesn't just mean parties or something. It can mean these smaller pleasures, but they all add up to be, that's what makes life worthwhile. Happiness comes from pleasure. So these are some 4 options here. 2 I think pretty good, 2 not so good. or at least kind of incomplete. All right, so how do we balance our happiness with the happiness of everyone else? And this is where utilitarianism from these other videos comes into play. So if we're thinking about how do we get happiness, we can't just think about ourselves. If we're just thinking, okay, what will make me happy? Well, what if I'm, you always think, well, what if someone is like a sociopath or something and enjoys hurting other people? It's like, well, he's happy. Why shouldn't he just pick things that make him happy? You have to balance that with other people. So the utilitarians came up with this theory that really what makes ethics worthwhile is trying to make as many people as possible happy. Not just in it for ourselves, not just what will make me happy, but the right thing to do is what will make everyone happy. And sometimes that means I don't get the maximum happiness that I could get personally, but it's okay to make that trade-off because on the whole, everybody will be happier if we do that. So this is the way they're thinking of ethics then. So ethics is this big, almost like a big equation where we bring everybody's stuff together, everybody's desires, everybody's pains and pleasures, and we put all those together, and then we say, okay, the right thing to do is the thing that helps out everybody, that brings the most possible happiness to the most number of people. Now, there's different ways to talk about this. Sometimes happiness seems kind of vague. It's really hard to get at, and so you might say, well, all right, maybe let's go with the precursor, one of the really strong precursors to happiness. What would bring people the most pleasure? And again, we think pleasure in this sort of large sense, not just parties, but this larger sense of happiness. So we think, okay, how could we bring the most pleasure to the most number of people? Or maybe what's even easier we could take as a shortcut is we could say, well, what would bring the least amount of pain to the most people? So in the case of our group of people, our group of 8 people right here, maybe something like, okay, Alex over here listening to music on a long train commute. Maybe we could have some rules involving, say, not stealing, so that Alex is in less pain, right? Because if he's worried about his stuff always being taken from him, or makes the train ride, it seems very dangerous now, he's not going to be able to, that'll be a painful experience while he's on the train. In the same way, if you think about Kevin trying to understand why his students are not as successful, well, if we're only focused on the happiness of everybody, we might not notice the pain, say, of students failing or not being able to complete their assignments, or what's going on. So Kevin might try to change some of his actions, not necessarily to enhance the happiness of everybody, because maybe that's too difficult, but he could at least figure out a way to cause the least amount of pain for everyone. So as we balance these things together, what we're able to do is find the right action in each case. Right? The right action in each case is going to be some kind of balancing act, which as you get into the reading, you'll see at least one author's view of how a balancing act like this could be done. But some kind of balancing act where we try to cause the least amount of pain at all times. And so the least amount of pain would probably be something like the most amount of pleasure for the most people. And the most amount of pleasure for the most people will be more or less happiness for the most people. At least this is the theory. Right, so as you're reading through this and the material for this week and watching some of the other videos, keep in mind this is the task. Try to maximize happiness, not just for me, but for everyone. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this gives you a little bit of context for the reading and the videos that we'll be watching this week. And I look forward to seeing you all in the forums.